What if I told you that an ordinary snowboarding trip could turn into an 8-day fight for survival against freezing storms, wild animals, and the demons within? Stranded with no signal, no food, and no clear way home, one man discovered that the greatest battle wasn't only with nature, but with himself. This is the true story of how he found strength in the darkest cold, when giving up seemed like the only choice. On February 6, 2004, Eric is staying in a winter cabin and wakes up to begin his day. As he gets ready, the radio in the background announces that a strong storm is expected later in the afternoon, though Eric pays no attention. He recalls a past accident and how he was recently arrested for drunk driving. It is revealed that Eric is trying to recover from his addiction, with only 7 days left before his court date. Because of this, he lives under the constant weight of his mother's disappointment. Eric still struggles with self-control and takes a small amount of the harmful substance. He quickly prepares himself for snowboarding as the day goes on. Unfortunately, he misses the bus that was supposed to take him to the slopes. Eric then accepts a ride from a stranger named Sarah, who happens to be a ski patrol officer. They arrive at the mountain, which serves as Sarah's workplace and Eric's snowboarding spot. After thanking her and saying goodbye, he boards a gondola up the hill. Once there, he consumes more of the substance before starting his ride down the slope. Eric enjoys himself too much to notice the weather turning rough. Later, he calls his mother and tells her that he is working toward recovery. Meanwhile, Sarah receives a storm report and alerts the mountain staff, suggesting they close the slopes early. Back on the hill, Eric keeps snowboarding even as visibility begins to worsen. When he finally decides to head back, he realizes the wind has erased all ski tracks, making it impossible to follow his path. Checking his phone, he discovers there is no signal, leaving him frustrated. Understanding he is lost, Eric keeps moving until he finds shelter beneath a tree. The cold grows more severe and he desperately tries to light a fire but fails. During this moment, he remembers his father teaching him hockey as a child, telling him never to give up. Inspired, Eric decides to keep going and attempts to find his way by snowboarding down another slope. Instead, he ends up at the edge of a steep cliff. With no clear direction, Eric continues on foot until he encounters a pair of wild wolves growling at him. Frightened, he raises his snowboard and yells loudly, which successfully scares them away. Soon he hears more howls echoing in the distance, forcing him to run as fast as he can until he escapes. He digs into the snow, crawling inside for warmth, as he drifts into sleep. The next morning, Eric wakes and tries to guess the right direction back to the resort. His attempts fail, and he finally accepts that he has no idea where he is. With no other option, he snowboards down another hill, ending up in the wilderness with nothing to eat except a small bag of powder. He takes it out, but just as he is about to use it, he slips under the ice and struggles to grab the sinking bag. After managing to recover it, he swims back to the surface and climbs out alive. Weakened, he continues walking until he rests near a pile of rocks, nearly collapsing from the cold. Realizing his wet clothes could make him worse, he removes them. He notices a wound on his leg that has grown severe, likely from a fall. Tempted to use the substance to numb the pain, he resists and throws the rest away, deciding survival needs a clear mind. At this moment, the thermometer on his jacket shows minus 20 degrees Celsius. That night, Eric curls up without clothes, determined to live. As he puts his clothes back on, he notices faint lights from the resort in the distance. Overjoyed, he stares at them before falling asleep. The next morning, he drinks melted snow from his bag, revealing he has been melting snow with his body heat. But with no real food for 2 days, he grows dizzy and coughs up blood. He collapses to the ground and spends the rest of the day lying still. On the 4th day, Eric wakes to find his sock frozen to his wound. When he pulls it off, it tears skin away with it. Despite the pain, he keeps walking toward the building he thought he saw the previous night. To his shock, it vanishes, and he realizes it was only a hallucination. Upon realization, he gets frustrated. That night, Eric shelters under another tree and checks his phone, only to find it dead. At the same time, his mother calls and leaves a heartfelt voicemail promising to stand by him during his recovery. She recalls a moment when she warmly embraced young Eric. On the 5th day, Eric examines his wound again, which looks worse. Pulling away more of the frozen sock, he ends up with pieces of flesh. He forces himself to eat it to stay alive. Eric activates a small radio device, hoping someone will pick up the signal. The 6th day begins, and his mother grows worried after he misses his court date. She calls a friend to ask where he might be and learns about his cabin. Meanwhile, Eric faces a blizzard while trying to get a radio signal but fails. With no choice, he keeps walking. On the 7th day, his mother arrives at his cabin and is alarmed to find the food frozen, showing he hasn't turned the heater on in a while. She hurries to the ski patrol station and reports to Sarah that she thinks her son is missing. She shows Eric's photo to Sarah. Recognizing him, Sarah quickly organizes a rescue team and boards a helicopter. High in the mountains, Eric keeps walking with what little strength remains, still hopes to find a radio signal. Hearing the sound of the helicopter, he screams for help and drags himself to an open spot. But Sarah's helicopter misses him and flies away. The failed rescue leaves Eric crushed and hopeless. Thinking of his mother, Eric finds the will to keep going. At the station, his mother stays the night and Sarah comforts her, even as they must call off the search until morning. This moment strengthens Sarah's resolve to find him. On the 8th day, Eric once again eats frozen flesh and searches for a signal. At the station, the helicopter pilot insists it is pointless to continue, as no one could survive in such conditions for more than 4 days. But Eric faintly hears voices from the patrol station on his radio. He forces himself up the mountain with his last bit of energy, even as the radio battery runs low. Barely able to move, he collapses and nearly passes out. He begins to hear more chatter on the radio coming from folks at the patrol station. Determined not to quit, Eric crawls until he can no longer move. With just 2% battery left, he lays down and records a final message to his mother, telling her he loves her, even though he has absolutely no clue if anyone is even listening. Then he slips into unconsciousness. At the station, a patrol officer reports picking up a faint signal. Sarah immediately boards a helicopter and heads out again. This time, they spot Eric lying motionless in the snow. The team rushes to him and carries him back to base, saving him in time. Once they land, his mother runs to embrace him, grateful that he is alive. The story closes with Eric in the present, giving an inspiring talk to children. Though he lost his legs to frostbite, he now lives with strength and hope, showing that he has truly turned his life around. If this story had you holding your breath, imagine how many more twists are waiting for you here. Hit that like button, share this with your friends, and subscribe so you never miss the next tale.